The Stuart and Sam Show is recorded in front of a live studio audience.
So, like any good, well, I wasn't so good, but like any recent graduate, we thought we'd start off with a proper introductory show, and introductions are often rather meta, if you like, if you're partial to that word. They outline what things are going to be about, so we thought we'd do a subject that was meta, so it kind of gave an introduction to us.
And we didn't want to get too heavy into
I've already
huge
gone far too heavy.
discussions.
Keep opinions to ourselves.
We want to ease into it.
Mm.
We want you to get to know us first before we start to give our strong opinions. Although I certainly had my strong opinions on the title of our podcast. I wanted it to be Brother Brother, in a kind of reference to the classic 90s and millennium show Sister Sister, as we are both brother brothers.
We're going to do a show on the naming of the show, and in so doing, hopefully give an insight into
how we're going to go about the podcasting industry.
Not that we have an idea, but that's kind of the point.
No, we want to just test things out and see where we can take this.
Basically, since all we have is a name, really, that's all we can talk about in terms of what the show is.
Discussing the show itself is a good way to give insight into who we are, why we're doing it, and the kind of creative discussions we've had so far.
Are we not created by the show?
Are we the show, or is the show us?
And if all we've got is a title, then that's all we are at this point in time. So, that being, we will ride the title for all it's worth.
And our title is The Stuart and Sam Show.
Not Brother Brother, because I thought that sounded like a clothing brand.
Yeah, and I would agree with that, but I felt that calling it Brother Brother would give a good excuse to have a nice, catchy intro song, which we will still have.
We've just been listening to the Sister Sister theme tune.
We have, and we're going to do our cover version very soon, so expect a rendition of Sister Sister, but Brother Brother.
Okay. Yeah.
I think even though it's not the title of our podcast, it still will sum up cheesiness, our love of the 90s, even though in our previous podcast we did mention a kind of distaste for the 90s.
I'm full of distaste for the 90s currently.
I don't have any
just
distaste
seen
for
that.
the 90s.
Oh goodness, seen that, the graphics
of Sister Sister,
like a Dr. Phil. It's some parts of America are still stuck with that, you know. So it wasn't Brother Brother, well, for a range of reasons. Not just because of the clothing brand.
You felt like it didn't really have enough focus on us two as people.
Yeah, I felt it would have been maybe a bit gimmicky. I mean, if you're going to base anything on the Sister Sister theme tune, I don't think you can avoid gimmick.
You get the 90s and millennials vote, though, if you... millennials, that horrible word. You get the vote of them, though, if you use the Sister Sister theme. It's just a little bit of fun, really. It's nothing too in-depth. Well, I didn't really have a deep reason why I wanted it to be Brother Brother. I just liked the idea of having a theme tune.
A lot of it was based on the picture that we picked. We were originally going to go for two philosophers, Heraclitus and Democritus, or Democritus. One is, Heraclitus is the weeping philosopher, which I thought, when me and my brother were talking, that would be me. I thought I'd be very much characterised by my more lachrymose take on things. No, I don't think I'm going to be Heraclitean, actually. So we went against the philosopher's idea, particularly because we're not going to be a philosophy podcast.
The images were funny. If you look up
Please
Democritus and Heraclitus, they are quite funny to see how they're contrasted against each
other. They
other.
are a ribald pair.
Which one's the laughing one again?
Democritus. Well, yeah. Democritus is all about the actual world, so he just kind of laughs at its absurdity. Heraclitus is trying to like sum things up, but all he can do in his own mind is find misery. Now that actually is mine and my brother's relationship in a nutshell.
I like to mock my brother a lot. We do deal with the world differently.
You hold humour as the supreme value.
Oh, yes.
Not
that I can guarantee much humour on this podcast, though.
No. Yeah, no, I've had a tendency over the last few years, probably studying philosophy, to be honest, and not being grounded in anything that reminds you of the absurdity of the world. Yeah, that silly subject just takes everything and itself far too seriously, so it's no wonder everyone ends up like Heracliteans. That was a very poor summing up of philosophy, by the way.
Academics.
Heraclitus would be more a philosopher. Democritus was kind of the pre-runner to a scientist. That's really simple, just as my simplistic characterisation of some of the spirit of philosophy. Don't take any of that seriously. Maybe we will have a discussion on my sort of coming unstuck with academic philosophers and my desire to call back.
The whole point of this podcast really is that we felt like we were talking a lot to each other about lots of different things in our own lives, and felt like it would do us better to record it, to get the ideas down, and potentially to share them with people that care and that think that these ideas matter somehow.
Or if not matter, they just go, oh right, well these two just normal guys, well normal, but you know they're going through similar thought processes to me, and that might be cool to
just
know that we're not
waste.
That we're not desperately alone, locked in our own minds.
Yes.
There'll be times I think I've talked nonsense so far, but there will be times when we make sense and it's half decent. That's not very promising though, since you want the assurance, dear listener, that you know what you're listening to every time is going to be. But we'll see.
I think that some people just like...
It's nice to have a voice in the background.
Yeah, like to have a voice in the background, and then once every so often they might say something of worth, and that might prick their ears up. Yes, or just a high-pitched sound might prick their ears up. The artwork kind of sums us up to kind of me scowling at Sam
and it's sadly that summing up of us didn't go with our mythological characterisation, because I suppose who we are in our philosophies are clearly very different from kind of how we interplay as people in conversation.
So we weren't Heraclitus and we weren't Democritus, but neither are we... But neither are we...
Well, clearly we're not.
Neither are we...
1,000 year... How is it, like 2,000 year old pre-Socratic, whatever.
Oh yeah, if you want to get really pragmatic. But we're not Tia Mowry and Tamira Mowry from Sister Sister.
No.
Either.
Were they the same person?
No.
No, they were actual twins.
Yes! Of course they were.
Well, I didn't know if they'd done, one of those split-screeny things, even though we're talking about terrible
That
graphics.
would have taken a lot of time for, 3 series that they did.
I know.
Of course they were twins. We're not sister twins who are twins. They're not just a green screen.
We're not Heraclitus nor Democritus.
We're not any of them. We are just Stuart and Sam. I think that's a good way to just round off that.
We've always been
subject.
Sam and Stuart, in fact, because I'm the eldest.
Yes, we've always been Sam and Stuart, but for some reason Sam would have...
Oh no, for good reason, which I...
Well, I think one of the reasons is probably the artwork, because I'm on the left and you're on the right.
I think so, and I think that's an appropriate reason, but I think the artwork is organic in terms of the meaning it's giving. So it's not just that it's a simple coincidence, or this is me trying to find meaning in everything. The fact that you are on that side and looking down at me, I think, well, clearly you could have been on the other side. But I still think you'd look at the picture in the way that it focused on you first and your gaze, your power, over my stupidity. So therefore, I do think from the picture, actually, it's not just because you're on the left and I'm on the right and we view it from that sense. I'm so surprised, Deborah was able to...
Deborah being our mother.
Yep.
She was able to somehow take that picture with her lack of technological skills, prowess. And also you mentioned that you kind of liked the childish tone that the show title gave off.
Yeah, to explain the childish tone to me.
You said that it was...
I don't know what I say sometimes.
well, I'm able to
Relay.
think whilst I'm erming all the time, which I have to cut out all the time. I keep having to cut out my erms, so excuse me for that. But
I go into little existential crises.
I'm gonna put like a money jar next to me whenever we're doing these podcasts, because I keep doing
is the window into the abyss for me. As soon as I start erming, then I start thinking, am I ever gonna finish saying this?
It helps me, and I think that's because of maybe my short-term memory, my weak short-term memory that I've been diagnosed with, for a kind of insight into me. It's not a disability, it's a specific learning difficulty, so they call it a difficulty rather than a disability. But it gives me that one extra second of time to collate my thoughts and kind of put them together, and it's almost like part of my brain is just wiring up a little bit slower. Before I got onto my erming,
would I have used the word childish? I think
you did say childish.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
My memory served me well then. Before I got onto the erming tangent, like we do, when you said childish, you mentioned it sounding quite infantile, and saying you just liked the kind of basic infantile sounding.
Oh yeah, almost like sort of as little kids we had a Punch and Judy
puppet theatre.
A puppet theatre, and you can imagine two little boys, whatever their names are, whoever, a girl and a boy, undecided, and by their parents or life.
Are you cis or are you not?
Yeah, who knows? But I don't care. I didn't. And
it's irrelevant.
And you can imagine them putting, that on, and that would be the first thing that came to mind, of course. It's simple, and it is the first thing that comes to anyone's mind. Simon and Stuart doing a show, Stuart and Sam doing a show. Oh, this is Stuart and Sam Show. And it kind of more peters in the brotherhood thing without being too cheesy by calling it brother. So we are actually able to be very human around each other. I don't know if all brothers are, but we are.
So, some brothers and some siblings don't spend as much time together as we have, and kind of debated, and there might be some things related to our mother and father getting divorced and those sort of things that brought us together. But
we are sorry, dear listener. We'll not get into that.
No, we won't get into that. We won't bring down the tone.
Oh no, because they'll be like, oh no, sob story already. If you'd like to donate,
it does have an effect.
The number is 0788918. That's my actual number.
We don't want any donations anyway. We're not.
Message me at least you only need to message me twice on Instagram and you end up with my digit. We are.
But it has made us who we are, and it has made our relationship.
Well, the point I was going to drive at, rather than analysis, was just that if you do spend so much time and you are very human around each other, the basic point of this show is just actual opinions of actual people. You bring it back to childhood, I think, therefore, when you actually kind of just, I don't know. Well, this is all theorising. I'm not sure about I can't justify it. It seemed nice. Yeah.
And so that's why we went with the Stuart and
Sam Show. It's annoying me now I can't figure out why I wanted a slightly infantile ring. I'm sure it was ingenious.
I'm sure it was. Or else you would have convinced me further that it should not be Brother at all. The theme tune still really entices me. So maybe the theme tune could make our show. Forget all the ramblings that we go on, or the bickerings that we have.
We are to go on.
Forget all that. If the theme tune is good enough, then we might have some success. But this is giving a good insight into us as people before we go on to actually discuss quite tetchy, difficult subjects that we might come across. Some subjects won't be difficult at all. We'll just talk about reviews of shows that we might have watched, which we often watch together, how we feel about each show, and
we're not like some weird kind of
conjoined
arm
twins.
in arm kind of family sort of. God, no,
we're not like those two weird twins.
I'm just a man-child that hasn't left the nest. And Stuart's finished uni and is appropriately still just figuring out how he kind of launches out into the world.
Yeah, I'm on a path, but I won't be ashamed of myself or call myself a man-child if I'm still at home at 24.
Well,
I'm not going to be too devastated about that because I think it's far more common now than ever before.
It's more common. Well, yeah,
but we are not
still
like
want to see a trajectory.
we're not like the two twin Australian sisters that Ethan from H3 Productions. Actually, no, it was on Ethan and Healer, his sister channel, when he did a reaction video that's just beautiful. I love.
It is very good.
I love those shows, and big up to Ethan. He will be doing his own podcast very soon, and even though I have no idea how it's going to be, I have no doubt that
great moves, great podcast moves.
Yeah, great sounds. Keep it up, proud of you.
Yeah,
and do keep it up, Ethan. A H3 podcast. It's coming out soon. Very excited. No, we're not like them. We're not like the twins. But
can I just check my phone very quickly?
Fine.
He's not texting me. Great.
Yeah, we're still on that. I think I edited it out last time about you waiting on a text from this guy, and once again, you haven't got a text from this guy. We're not those... Oh, the phone has buzzed.
No, different guy.
We're not
Danish.
two weird brothers that spend every second of our lives
slaggy.
together. But we are two brothers that know each other quite well. I'm often able to read into what Sam's going to do next sometimes. Like, I'll be able to say something in the right way and I'll know what he'll kind of pick up on if we have any sort of sound bites or those sort of things. Yeah, and also I just know and can predict when Sam's going to do something stupid. Which there have been many so physical injuries. I've broken 0 bones in my body.
I've
touch
taken
wood.
All the breaks.
He's broke his bones.
Heartbreaks too.
Many times, yeah, heartbreaks too. And so we are quite different, but you know we spend enough time together to understand each other and to also understand when we disagree, which we have disagreed on TV shows that we've watched and films that we've watched and. However we go about life in different ways, we do disagree, but we also understand where each one's coming from.
Generally do, yeah, which is nice.
I don't think we've reached an impasse on anything. It might take a few discussions on a thing before we...
Yeah, before we can see why it's actually valuable to that person, how they live their lives.
Yeah.
And then you can see it in front of you almost like a lived fact, and then you're like, oh, right, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and hopefully we can share some discussions with you, the podcast listener.
I think they know who they are.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I've still not remembered why I wanted it to have kind of like a puppet show feel, or no, not a puppet show feel, but something kid-like.
I think that kind of gives a good explanation. It might not be the one that you're looking for, but by saying that it's a kind of childish, what we used to do as kids and how children do act. Because we can be quite childish as well. And being brothers as well, you know. So
it's really annoying me. Anyway, I don't know, it's
I think you just like the childish tone.
Yeah, but that's never satisfying enough.
It must have satisfied your childish brain at the time.
So yeah, I think it had to be the Stuart and Sam Show. If it's nice and simple and the S's, it's just so obvious. I think that's what I liked about it. I didn't mean childish exactly. I think I just meant it's just simply here we are. I am quite obsessed with this idea and it's on websites like Reddit, but I'm obsessed with the idea of the Reddit group of people who are probably a bit dissatisfied with life a little bit. Not everyone, but there's a lot of common sense in a lot of people, and yet in our general ways of going about things in life, those obvious common sense things just seem to go out the window. Now, I'm not saying I'm a person of much obvious common sense, and yet I still feel grounded in just basic values that I thought most people, and I do think most people, have. Respect, wanting to be loved, all this sort of stuff, that then flow down into everything else, how we kind of act and use our skills and talents. But so much of that seems to get obscured. But you go on places like Reddit, and not all the time, but
no,
you just seem to be blasted sometimes by a lot more common sense. It's like, oh, thank goodness. To have that common sense, I think you just need to go, right, this is who we are, this is who I am, and you need to be willing to embrace that. And it's hard to embrace who you are if you're not willing to embrace vulnerability. I think to be a person of common sense, to be of the common sensical nature, you have to admit that humans are vulnerable and stupid and foolish. And to go, this is just who I am, to me, is an act of vulnerability. It could also be an act of unbridled hubris, which I certainly am not shy to.
Yeah.
Does that sound like that's more? I'm more happy with that.
The kind of ability to say, yes, this is who I am. Hopefully you enjoy
through a
the
persona,
kind of...
because as Oscar Wilde said, man is never truly himself when he talks in his own person. Give him a mask, and he shall tell you the truth. I wanted to use that for an episode, didn't I, of a YouTube...
You did use that on your
Yeah,
YouTube
but I didn't. Cause
yes, your Halloween thing.
Yeah, I got Mardy
Yeah,
on.
you got very Mardy. Mardy being the appropriate Yorkshire phrase.
Which means narky, sort of certainly
Narky,
salty.
yeah.
Salty.
Well,
that is
we're
the
just
best.
using
A
more and
Californian.
more.
A Californian lad I met in Poland told me
Yeah, I know,
that.
salty.
Salty. And he said it in his really Californian voice.
Salt.
Oh God, he's getting really salty. Yeah, that wasn't good, but salty. What an adjective.
I'm surprised you hadn't heard it before that, really. It's
Gorgeous. I was in hysterics.
No, well, it originated from Mard.
Right.
This is a huge tangent talking about Mardy now.
It seems appropriate.
Well, anyway, Mard, it's Middle English, and it essentially means to spoil.
So that's typical Yorkshire, I think, humour of using that exaggeration. Oh, you've just gone and spoiled everything new, or whatever. I know everyone, loads of cultures exaggerate, but either way, beyond its etymology and me trying to link some sort of meaning backwards onto it, which is probably ridiculous, my understanding is it's hard to fully grasp it without meeting a proper Yorkshire, or that being in that culture for a bit, because obviously we have this particular way of seeing things that are too sentimental or too overly indulgent as a little bit ridiculous. And if you call someone Mardy and they're getting a little bit overindulgent of themselves, and therefore spoiling and denigrating the great peace and beauty of a situation, you're kind of bringing them back to earth. The Yorkshire person will bring them back to earth and be like, oh, you Mardy ass. Stop it.
And
come on, Mardy ass.
If we want to bring it back to what our main discussion is, and what we're talking about is to do with us, then we can bring it back and say that we are two people from Yorkshire, quite proud of being from Yorkshire, although we don't necessarily sound like we're
unless you
from
this in Audacity and reduce the speed at which you play it.
Reduce or speed it up. If you turn us into chipmunks, we sound like
Yorkshire chipmunks or like old Yorkshire men. Yeah.
Obviously, we've gone on a huge tangent here, and if we go back to where we started from by coming onto the word Mardy, you were talking about putting a mask on and Oscar Wilde. That should bring us back to
Sister, obviously.
To Sister, clearly. Brings us back to Oscar Wilde and Sister, very synonymous with each other. They're two groundbreaking people. Yeah, sisters. Oscar Wilde is my sister. My sister as well.
I adore Oscar Wilde.
It's
more his wit. Anyway, his biography, Stu. I think you read his biography. His great art was his life.
Yeah, I do like the story of him beating up some guys that mocked him for being gay or something. Oh,
what a story! No, they were coming to smash his quarters up. These rugger players from down the road, because
they found out he was gay.
Well, he was on trial for grave indecency and the sort of sin of sodomy. I don't know how they phrased it exactly, but this is a story from Stephen Fry. I love how he tells it. They marched up the stairs and in sort of one big swoop, Wilde, because he was a big man, scooped him up and chucked them down the stairs, to the clashing of sort of bodies and the pop of collarbones kind of breaking, or whatever the sound collarbones make when they snap. And but I don't know how true that must be, because then he went, well, boys, if we're done with that, then you can join me in my quarters for anchovies on toast or something like that. It's like, Wilde, you are my hero. I love you.
I don't think we should be doing too many of our sound bites. It's just going to confuse.
Please tell us if you like sound bites. No, that's not the best friend.
Not
question.
original sound bites either. They're not ours.
No, but we make them ours.
Anyway,
we do have some of our own.
We do. We do have some of our own, and they're often in mockery of our mum because she says some right things.
Or the dog.
Yeah.
Who we decided is actually our mum.
Yeah, Deb Junior. Deborah.
Or she's rather trying to supplant our mother.
She's trying to become Deb Senior, but she's certainly trying to usurp and become.
That's the word.
And become Deb Senior. No, we do have our own sound bites, and hopefully maybe we can slip some in and make some new ones on this podcast.
So yeah, summing up, my phone still not text me.
The main point
He's
of
an
this,
absolute menace.
I think he's a catfish.
Well, so do I actually now. Like he can,
and he's been saying no, he's not a catfish.
Well, I didn't.
And I'm
want to
sorry,
believe...
Sam. If he is a catfish, I've correctly predicted it twice now. And I know that we did a backwards image search, but maybe if I did it, I might have been able to find something. Maybe.
It's over. If he doesn't Skype me now, it's over. He was perfect as well, dear listener.
Maybe in a future episode we can update you on this.
Ooh, catfishing. We could do an episode.
We can do an episode on catfishing, but
a few times.
We can certainly give you an update on Sam's relationship.
I don't know if it's catfishing. I just think he's a strange creature. But either way, like I just want to know what I've been talking to.
Yeah. Now, the main point of this episode was to shine some light on who we are.
Shine a light.
Shine a bloody light on who we are, how much we goddamn talk over each other, give a perspective on why we're doing these podcasts and what you can expect from it.
I don't know if we've achieved that, dear listener.
No, and I think we did intend this to be a very short podcast, but it's actually turned into quite a long one. I think if we haven't explained why we're doing it, it will become quite clear in further discussions of what we're actually deciding to talk about. It'll become quite clear on...
We just let anyone just want to like have our
voice heard. We've gone on so many tangents today that we can fit almost any bloody thing in.
Yeah, as long as we can bring it back. Bring it back. Do.
We weren't on the same wavelength there because I was thinking, bring it back, sing it back.
Actually, you couldn't have been on that wavelength because I just completely distorted one of the songs from Rocky. I think Rocky 1.
Let's have a bit of audience participation. If someone can recognise that song, would you like to give a second rendition?
Take it back, do, take it back, and then I think it's like take it back like before, something like that.
Okay. Great. Well, if you know that song, let us know what it is. And let us know also if Sam is right by saying that it's from Rocky.
If you get it right, you can have the last 4 digits of my phone number.
You can have Sam's phone number.
Because this guy is a catfish.
Yeah, then Sam can start flirting with any podcast fans. Any fan of the Stuart and Sam Show.
I'm not sure they're going to...
That one fan in Luxembourg that enjoys our show.
Then we got married.
And then you get married to one man in Luxembourg.
Or woman, like I've not fully decided. I sort of like, by my practices you'd think I have, but maybe not.
As our catchphrase goes on this show,
that's for sexually confused.
No. The Stuart and Sam Show. I'm sexually confused. No, I was thinking more that's for another discussion. Which I've said twice in the previous episode and once now.
But I've also said at least 20 times.
But the isn't a phrase. You idiot. We do go on to so many tangents, and I am sorry that we do go on to so many bloody tangents that we...
The whole show's a tangent.
The whole show is a bloody tangent. Why don't we just call it the Tangent Show
then? We could. It's just every opinion seems to be linked to a million others, because if it's really human, no opinion sums you up, so you want to like chain it to every other damn opinion to try to go, this is me, just me. Nobody can know you unless they actually know you.
And I think...
But if you give enough tangents, at least they might be like,
And that's why I think my catchphrase of that's for another discussion is quite good, because I'm pretty much saying, yes, we're going on a tangent here, but we have a time limit. Let's split it up.
I would like to know you in depth, each of you, dear listener. I would like to know you as well as a childhood friend. Oh God! Right. On that note, when you next hear me, dear listener, I will be a single Pringle. Not that I'm not single.
No, he's a single Pringle now, but with an interest. Now he'll be a single Pringle that's soggy, and you'll be salty. You'll be a salty, soggy Pringle. I will be
soggy and salty as a single Pringle. Manchester in a weekend or two.
Yay. And I have to suffer with this. A salty, soggy Pringle. That's what I have to suffer with.
Yeah, I quite like the really cheesy Mexican flavour that we had a few months ago.
Mexican flavour. No, we're going off on another tangent here. We can't do this. We can't talk about flavours of crisps. I'm sorry, that's right, for another discussion.
Come on then. Can we just say goodbye? Sister, I never know how much I missed you.
No. Brother.
Goodbye.
Brother.
Goodbye. No,
we won't end it on just goodbye. We can't, goodbye is just meh.
We're never going to end.
We can just end it by saying...
We can just end it all. There's a window right there.
Well, let's just say thanks for listening then. Thanks for listening.
Goodbye.
No!
Cut.
Thanks for listening.
No! Do it. No, you're cutting it on the goodbye. I'm sorry.
Thanks for listening.